that running your MOP running back was a good idea. Good morning, afternoon, and evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another Bomber video. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers win by a score of 23-13 over the Montreal Alouettes, and I gotta say, I'm overall relatively pleased with the Bombers in this game. I have some issues, but I think I was worried that the Bombers were going to come into this and just barely win. Now, they won by 10 points. I would have preferred maybe a little bit more than that. You're going against Saskatchewan next week. It's going to be a big challenge there. But one of my biggest problems, at least with Jason Hogan in the offense, has been the misuse of Brady Oliveira, having a MOP running back and not using him like an MOP running back. And I think we finally saw that in this game. That's what I've been looking for. Brady Oliveira, over 200 all-purpose yards by the end of this game. He was excellent. So, let's get right into it. I'm just pulling up the stats here. Excuse me, looking down at that. But pregame, James Morgan's in at Montreal. So James Morgan, for those not aware, is the fourth string quarterback because you got Davis Alexander, then Bethel Thompson, then Caleb Evans. All of these three have been injured. James Morgan goes in, and he's a young quarterback with promise, but it's one of those things where guys with CFL experience going to get the priority here. So they were up in front of him. James Morgan plays relatively well today. Credit where credit is due, as much as he's a fourth string quarterback. I think he's got a promising future in the CFL if he plays the way he did today. He certainly played well. But for the Bombers, Vanderpool is still out. Peyton Logan is in the lineup. He got some reps at returner along with Trey Vavel. Trey Vavel, who would later get an interception. As I thought the secondary played a little bit tighter. I still would like to see a little bit more of that. A little bit tighter, but they gave up only 13 points tonight, so there's not much I can complain about that. I just think this is a good stepping stone to then keep building and getting better and better and better, especially when Demario Houston comes into the lineup for next week in the Labor Day Classic. First quarter, it's a back-and-forth start to start off the game. Castillo then would hit a 13-yard field goal, making this 3-0 Winnipeg. And then immediately, James Morgan, he goes and he gets a deep ball. And I'm pretty pissed because I'm thinking this guy is a fourth string. Now, again, he would go on to have a relatively good game. But I'm thinking this is a guy that has no business being able to put on a show. And he kind of does. Deep ball, he gets it down. Alouettes are pushing. And the Bombers not showing any resistance right off the hop. Radek Kramdy goes down, but thankfully he will come back later in this game. And then Maltos Diaz hits a 13-yard field goal, making this a 3-3 tie. Brady Oliveira, at this point, decides to start his game. He decides to start having the game that he will have for the rest of this game. And Jason Hogan eventually is going to keep giving him the ball. Brady Oliveira, what a run for him. Dylan Wynn would then take a roughing the passer penalty. This would be 15 yards from the end of the play. And then at that point, Nick Dembski with the touchdown. Conversion is good. 10-0 Bombers to end the first quarter. Sorry, 10-3. I don't know why I said 10-0. 10-3. I miswrote that. But 10-3 Bombers to end the first quarter. Pretty pleased. Touchdown lead out of one quarter. Let's keep it going. Second quarter, Montreal pushes a little bit. Kramdy comes back at this point. And then there's a huge throw where James Morgan throws it to the side for Tyler Sneed. Now, Tyler Sneed had a very good game for the Alouettes here. If I'm looking actually at the TSN app, receiving, Tyler Sneed had 56 receiving yards. However, he had one throw for 44 yards. That's right, Tyler Sneed with a big throw down the field. Montreal continuing the momentum. It's going to be a touchdown for the Alouettes. The conversion is good. Maltos Diaz hits it, and it's a 10-10 tie a little bit into the second quarter. Bombers push. Claricius would take a holding penalty on a flats throw for Brady Oliveira. And then at this point, I'm not pleased, as this is where I gotta critique Jason Hogan's play calling here a little bit. Jason Hogan, it's 2nd and 2 in midfield. And Jason Hogan decides to have Caleros fake the run and pass it. The problem is the Alouettes are expecting run. Caleros has to get that ball out fast because the Montreal defensive line, which has been the second best defense like in the league as a unit behind the Riders. The Alouettes put insane pressure, but the problem is that the run wouldn't have gotten it done. But now that Brady Oliveira is faking the run, he also can't block, really. And so now you've left Collaros in a situation where he's relatively defenseless. And so if you're the Bombers, you need to kind of, like, in my opinion, what the Bombers should have done here, throw Streveler in there. Go straight to short yardage at 2nd and 2. You'll get at least one on 2nd down, and then it's 3rd and 1, and you don't have confidence in Streveler to get it? At the end of the day, you need the first down. And Jason Hogan is actually decent at this the majority of the time. He's decent at first down football. He just struggles sometimes in kind of being bold to go for that deep ball. But on a play like that, I think you go straight to short yardage with Streveler. It's one of those things. Streveler has his strengths. He has his weaknesses. That's one of his strengths. I think you put him in there, you get it, you get the first down. Instead, Collaros gets sacked. We go back to 3rd and 5, and we're punting, and our drive comes to an end. But just a bit of a critique there. The Alouettes then would go. They actually start the play before the clock, so they would have to redo this. And then Evan Holm would get an interception on essentially an arm punt. But I can't complain about picks. I've been saying I've been wanting to see more of that. Evan Holm, I believe his 4th or 8th or I think it's his 4th pick of the season. I can't remember. Something like that. But he's leading the team in interceptions. I know that. And at this point, the Bombers would try to get going. Nick Dembski gets hurt, takes a couple hits on the sidelines, and then hits his head hard on the ground, goes out for concussion protocol. We would find out in the 3rd quarter that he would not return for the night. It's not looking good. Sergio Castillo would hit a 20-yard field goal after Dembski goes out, making it 13-10 for the Bombers. The Bombers, it would go back. Alouettes would try, wouldn't really get much there. Bombers would take a holding penalty. The Alouettes would then take an illegal contact penalty, so it'd be a redo 2nd down on the next Bomber offense. And Stearns would go down after a catch. We learned he doesn't come back either. And then Castillo hits a 35-yard field goal, making this 16-10 Winnipeg at half. So Winnipeg, with a decent performance, up by 6. I would have preferred a bit of a bigger lead than that. It is what it is. Dembski and Stearns going out, though. I was hoping that they'd come back. They would not return to this game. And I think if you're Winnipeg, you're praying to God Dembski can be ready next week, Labor Day. 3rd quarter, though. The Alouettes would push. There'd be a great knockdown by Willie Jefferson. Jefferson would finish this game with either 89 or 90 career knockdowns, which I believe the CFL, he's in 3rd right now. I believe the CFL record is around 118. So Jefferson, especially if he sticks around at least one more year, he might break that record. And this is at the point where, Stearns and Dembski were announced by the Bombers themselves. They won't return. Maltos Diaz hits a 38-yard field goal, making it 16-13 Winnipeg. Corcoran goes offside by a country mile. And I'm not going to lie, I was not impressed with Corcoran today. Corcoran had a pretty bad drop in the first half. And then the second half, just a bad offside. Like, he wasn't even close on that. He was at least 5 yards offside. Got another count. It's just irresponsible. And then Brady Oliveira, one hell of a run once again. Although, unfortunately, shortly after that, Eli would take a pretty obvious holding penalty. He completely missed his block, so he tried to grab around the guy. And the second you grab around the guy, that's when you're going to get flagged in a hold. If you got him just in front of you, it's not a problem. The second that's to the side, where you're getting around a guy, that's when you're going to get called on it. Eli takes a holding penalty, gets called on it there. Alouettes would go in at offside. And then when the Bombers get back on offense, I see Streveler at slot back. Streveler would then also play at wide receiver. So getting a little experimental here. I know a lot of people that wouldn't like that. To be honest, I think Streveler works better at fullback if you're going to play him somewhere other than at QB. But I don't mind him in the sense of if he actually catches the ball, he has potential to get a couple extra yards after catch. It's just the idea of Streveler being a receiver, just a little insane to me. But he would play a little bit because I guess everyone was going out. Although I thought Dylan Mitchell looked decent. I thought he looked better in Corcoran in this game. So I hope that he keeps a spot ahead of Corcoran in the depth chart. Colin Kowski with a bit of a bad missed block. Just something I put on there. I hate to chew out a single O-lineman, but I'm always watching the O-line as someone who has a big appreciation for it. There were some plays where the O-line was decent. The O-line was very mixed today. They had some plays where they were really putting up the blocks well for Collaros, and some plays where it was just collapsing under everything. But then Brady Oliveira getting some short passes and then just pounding that down the field. When he picks up that speed after he catches a ball in the flats, it's going to be a car crash when he gets it, and he'll get at least three more yards when he does come into contact. Fourth quarter comes along. Dylan Mitchell, this is at the point where Dylan Mitchell was getting a few good passes. He was getting some first downs. I thought he looked a lot better than Corcoran. And then Brady Oliveira, on a good second effort, would get the Bombers a touchdown. And then the conversion is good, which would make this game its final score of 23-13. The Alouettes, though, they're going to try to get this back. They go for it on 3rd and 4, and they fail. It was a turnover on downs. Now, I wasn't sure. Now, this ball would be knocked down by Willie Jefferson, so we don't know for sure. But my suspicion was that the Alouettes were going to go for their onside punt play, where they essentially throw the ball to the receiver, and then he just does a short kick on it and then hops on the ball in order to reset the downs, which is one of those plays where people kind of will make fun of Canadian football rules. Some people love it, some people don't, but it's a play that the Alouettes have been the only team that have really used that, but they can't do it because Willie Jefferson gets his hand on it. And so, good knockdown by Jefferson. Bombers will get it back on offense, but actually take a time count violation. Just a lot of miscommunication going on. Strebler didn't know what was going on. Collaros didn't know what was going on. It is what it is. Bombers would push it down a little bit, and Castillo would hit a 41-yard field goal, making this 26-13. Actually, no, it wasn't. It was not 23-13. I didn't realize till just now that it's 26-13. My apologies. 26-13. Alouettes slowly but surely, they're carving up the field after this. They're trying to get down, but they're killing a lot of time doing it. And then at that point, they go for the end zone, and Trey Vavel gets the end zone pick. And at that point, it's basically game. Bombers have the opportunity to run it a few times, and Brady Oliveira embarrasses the Alouettes defensive line as he has 2 consecutive run for almost 15 yards each. And at this point, he hits over 200 all-purpose yards. If we're looking at Brady Oliveira in this game, Brady Oliveira, 16 carries, an average of 8.6 yards per carry. That is MOP numbers. 137 rushing yards, 1 touchdown. Receiving, he was 9 receptions on 9 targets for 73 receiving yards. The ball was really hopping around everywhere today. As Wheatfall, I thought, had a better game. Could still use some improvement. He was 3 receptions on 5 targets for 64 yards. Stearns was 3 for 3 for 40, although unfortunately he gets injured. Clercius, 4 for 5 for 29 yards. And Dembski was 4 for 4 for 25 with the touchdown, but he would also get injured on one of those plays. Dylan Mitchell, 2 for 2. Corcoran doesn't record a single catch, and Peyton Logan goes 2 for 2 as well, but not for very much. Tony Jones, very good game defensively, 9 tackles for him. There was an interception for Evan Holm, 1 for Trey Vavel. No sacks today. Was kind of hoping that maybe Jake Thomas would pierce through, or maybe James Vaughters, but was glad to see Willie Jefferson with at least 2 knockdowns, so good performance for him. Sergio Castillo was money as per usual, 4 for 4, and he hit all of the extra points. And all in all, I thought Peyton Logan and Trey Vavel as kind of your 2 returners. I was relatively pleased with them. I think Trey Vavel's a little bit, I've seen a little bit more of him, a little bit better. But who knows? Peyton Logan's been out for a while. And so maybe with him getting more reps here and there, he might get back to his form that he was like in Calgary. But we got to get some blocks in front of him. Thought special teams looked pretty decent today. But all in all, I'm pleased. Bombers got the win. They needed to get the win. They go 6-4. Big difference with the Bombers at 6-4 as opposed to 5-5. As this is going to be a very tough 2 games against Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan has lost 1 game to the Stampeders, and the Stampeders made an embarrassment out of us. I'm going to be completely honest. And so it's one of those things where if the Bombers split and get a win in either Labor Day or Banjo Bowl, that is an absolute win. And if you're the Bombers, that is the goal. At least get the split. I do not expect Winnipeg to win both of those games, but if you can at least get the split, then that's very, very good. However, this game was very important, as if you're 6-4 and drop 2 to Saskatchewan, which are very possible, you're at least at 500. But it's going to be tough because the BC Lions have a pretty easy schedule in the next few weeks, and the BC Lions are kind of knocking on our coattails as the Lions play the Argos this week. I suspect they probably win that. Then they don't play next week, Labor Day. Then they play Ottawa. And they play Ottawa again. Because reminder, we play Saskatchewan, Hamilton. So we got a pretty difficult schedule for the next bit. The Lions, a little bit of an easier one. And that's where, if you're Winnipeg, you want to hold on to third place. And maybe actually move up into second if possible. Calgary, 6-3. We're 6-4 right now. If the Bombers are able to put up a good performance against the Riders, there's potential that gap with Calgary can stay close, or heaven forbid they actually get ahead, especially if the Riders are able to get a victory over the Stampeders this week, but we'll have to see. So let me know in the comment section down below what you guys thought of this game. What do you guys think as the Bombers prepare for Labor Day? All sorts of stuff like that. I'm excited. I'm going to be at the Labor Day Classic once again this year, as well as the Banjo Bowl. I'll be there cheering on the blue and gold against the banjo-picking Riders. And so, yeah, let me know what you guys thought of the game in the comment section down below, and I will see you guys next time.